The Toronto Blue Jays are forced into an impossible decision as we are now just a little over 24 hours away from Game 1 against the Mariners. We have some huge updates surrounding some absolutely crucial decisions that the Jays are forced into ahead of that game. We're going to break down these updates, discuss some recent comments that just happened mere minutes ago from John Schneider, as well as some interesting stuff on Bichette. But folks, the Jays have some big things to decide. I'm going to break down the latest updates and some other interesting stats, including one you're going to want to stay tuned till the end for that is very intriguing and has some fans very curious. But before we get into all that, if you're a part of the 70% or so who aren't subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying daily Jays content, this is the place to be. Multiple videos a day for you all, live streams coming, tons of things. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. You guys have been beasts with the support. Folks, let's dive right into it. A lot to go over today. And of course, yesterday night, we obviously got the conclusion of the ALDS side of, of course, the Mariners, and they have advanced, right? It's the Jays versus the Mariners. They took down the Tigers, and now all signs point to the Jays making, they have to, right? All signs point to the Jays having to make more moves here. And guess what, folks? We have some big updates. Let's dive into them. So John Schneider, about 50 minutes ago, spoke out on Max Scherzer and Chris Bassitt. And let's start with this. I could definitely see them being a part of it. He mentions that the best of 7 series makes it likelier that they'll need some length, which could mean another starter or another long reliever. And folks, I'm going to dive into a couple of Bichette updates, a bunch of different things. But ladies and gentlemen, the roster is now reset. And for those curious, it is the same number of players. It is 26, players on the roster, but they can reset it. And for one, in a 7-game series, you are more likely to need an extra starter. They're going to get one of Scherzer or Bassitt on this team. But the big decision becomes, and let's dive into an article that just dropped from Ben Nicholson-Smith, the big decision becomes in the form of Bichette, Anthony Santander, and some of the starters. And let's start with the rules. 26 player spots, 13 pitchers, and of course, the rest with hitters. Now, position players. Let's look at the apparent locks. And we did this exercise, if you want to call it that activity, before the ALDS, and I was mostly right? Now, the locks, Kirk, Heineman, Vladdy, Jimenez, Clement, all those guys are locks. Ben Nicholson-Smith has Anthony Santander as a lock. So for those curious, I know there was a lot of discourse online about, Bo can only DH, then he's the third best DH because you have, of course you have George Springer as the DH, then you'd have Anthony Santander and then Bichette. Seems like he's going to be on there, according to Ben Nicholson-Smith. The additional candidates are Bichette, Loperfido, IKF, and Ty France. And this is where the first decision comes. If you missed my video earlier today, the latest on Bichette, it's possible he plays. He ran bases yesterday. It seemed there was a video that surfaced and it seemed like that. He's probably going to be running bases today and really ramp up for tomorrow ahead of course, the roster crunch at 10 a.m. Eastern. Now, with all of that being said, if Bo is good to go, IKF can be left off. That's a simple one-for-one replacement. If they want a ton of versatility, you keep Bo and you keep IKF on, and then you have Anthony Santander on the sideline. But then if Bichette can't go, there's some interesting decisions to be made about Ty France, which we'll get into in a minute here. But let's for a second shift over to the pitching staff because, of course, again, Bichette was seen running the bases, but there's been a bunch of different questions now. And the apparent locks, we know most of them. I'm not going to go through each one. Basically, the guys who pitch really well. Tommy Nance and Justin Brule. And you look at the additional candidates, right? Bassitt, Scherzer, Nance, Brule. Tommy Nance and Justin Brule were 2 of the 13 that were on the ALDS roster. You can easily switch out both, right? Like there's a world where Bassitt and Scherzer are both on the roster, and then Nance and Brule are off. And Ben Nicholson-Smith writes, factors to consider. The Blue Jays got creative by working at bullpen day into their plans last round, and while whole staff outings are typically more demanding in the championship round, the Dodgers did it last year, it would be surprising for Scherzer not to be on the roster this time around, according to Ben Nicholson-Smith. You pair that with some of the stuff that, you look at, the way that the Mariners, rotations lining up. You think about the way that John Schneider literally said an hour ago, saying I could definitely see them being part of it. Not just one, but them. All signs point to what my guess would be: Nance out, Brule out, Bassitt in, Scherzer in. Scherzer can maybe do some bullpen stuff if you need him. Like if it gets to a point where not necessarily a bullpen game is happening, but maybe someone goes in short rest, you can have Scherzer out of the bullpen if needed. But you're going to need multiple starters. And the last we've seen, you can see there at the bottom, again, Bassitt's the additional candidate. There was a report, actually, it's not at the bottom here, but Bassitt last through 3 simulated or innings against, live BP simulated and some simulated side sessions as well. And then, of course, some side sessions for Scherzer. He hasn't been hurt, right? He's just been preparing. He's up to 5 innings. So very difficult decisions to be making. I'm happy I'm not the one that is making them because my prediction right now, we can see if I'm right, Bassitt in, Scherzer in, right? For the, pitcher side, and then Bichette in, IKF out. It's pretty simple to me. That leaves you with Santander. Yes, you have a cluster of DHs, But I think if you're at a point where you need a pinch hitter, for example, Santander is much more scary than IKF or Ty France. If Bichette is 80%, but he can't play the field, like there's no world I don't think that he plays shortstop. Yes, IKF, you remove that versatility by having him out there. Jimenez can play shortstop. Clement can play shortstop. David Schneider can play second base, and you move guys around. I'm not worried about it there. But at the end of the day, folks, let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are, because John Schneider came out and said he can definitely see them being a part of it. There is a ton of moving pieces here, and a lot of it relies on Mr. Bichette. Because again, if he's only DHing, you're in a very interesting spot with Anthony Santander, the cluster of DHs, because George Springer's probably going to have to be forced into some outfield if Bichette's DHing. Who starts at shortstop? It's Andres Jimenez. He's shown an ability to be really good with the bat in the playoffs randomly this year. So then you can have your apparent roster. And keep in mind, this Seattle Mariners team, they don't have any lefties in their starting rotation. And one of their lefties is really good in the bullpen, Gabe Spire. But other than that, like Caleb Ferguson, he's not great. Not bad, but he's not great. You're going up against straight righties. That means Berger's going to get in the lineup every game. Dalton Varsho's going to get in the lineup every game. Less of a use for Miles Straw. Probably less of a use, unfortunately, for Davis Schneider. And you start to figure things out. You put Bichette in there. You can have Santander as a pinch hitter, whether that be from the right side or the left side, because, of course, he is a pinch hitter. There's a lot of ways things can go. And there were some recent comments from Mark Shapiro following their DS win I kind of want to dive into, talking about, the bye and how it gives them extra time. And he basically goes on to talk about how it can be an advantage or a disadvantage. But now the extra time off plays a big role into the Toronto Blue Jays being able to actually go out there and line up their pitching staff. We know the Mariners went into a 15-inning game yesterday. They used every one of these starters besides Bryce Miller. And it's been confirmed, right? Like Bryce Miller is going to be starting for the Mariners tomorrow, which we'll have another, video on that. Brian Wu is expected to, be available as well. Like there's a lot of different things here. But at the end of the day, Max Scherzer or Chris Bassett, my guess is both. The latest news for him, just getting to specifics here, shout out to Keegan Matheson for this article. Wednesday in Toronto, Bassett threw 45 pitches, Scherzer threw 95. I suspect Scherzer will be available, but we'll see if they go with the traditional fourth option or they want a long guy out of the bullpen, because there is a world here where they go, okay, they want a long man out of the bullpen. Let's go Chris Bassett, because we trust his stuff a lot more than, say, a guy like Max Scherzer at this point. Even though, Scherzer's been really bad, I don't really want him on the postseason roster, but it's probably going to happen. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Bichette's going to be running. Things are going to get really crazy really quickly. And the stat I wanted to, update you guys with, the Jays are third among the remaining teams left here in World Series championship odds. The Mariners have a 27% chance. Toronto has an 18% chance. Of course, Chicago and Milwaukee play tonight. My guess is, I want your guys' opinion on this before I wrap up as well. I'll have another video for you guys tomorrow morning. I'll have another video then right after once the roster is made up. Who do you have A, winning the World Series, but B, do you think the Jays should be favored here? Yes, they are going up against a tough pitching team, but they are in a very good spot. The Toronto Blue Jays is for the first two games. For the first two games. You have the pitching advantage right now, at least, because you can line things up. I think you're a better hitting team. Now, that's probably not, I think stats-wise, the Mariners are one of the best, if not the best in the MLB in WRC+, or at least higher than the Toronto Blue Jays. I think the Yankees might be the first. I like the Jays rotation here. Gausman, you savage, you move on. Hopefully you can take care of business here. First to win four. That'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow morning.